Hello everyone, my name is Lena Henderson and welcome to my presentation on my certificate in Diversity, Inclusion, and Social Change Deep Dive. There I am. Okay, so my entire life I've grown up at Westtown School, and I've been one of the few Black people in my class while doing that. And additionally, I don't live near any of my family, so I've always been in kind of a racial bubble where I am the only Black student. And during my early times here, we never really talked about race ever as something that was happening currently. We never talked about our differences. And so getting into middle school, that was kind of a shock to kind of see how these differences were existing because I didn't really even notice them before. And also the ways in which that was penalized in the real world. Black Lives Matter movement was really big, and that was really difficult for me. And immediately, I just wanted to fix it. And I spent a lot of time trying to do that. And now that I've grown up a little more, I know that I can't just sit down and fix all the world's problems in one sitting. But I have had a collection of experiences during my high school years and even during those really formative middle school years that have pushed me to really believe in the power of my voice and utilize everything I can to make a difference. So, the things that I've included in this portfolio are some of those projects, some of the moments that I'm most proud of that I want to share with you to kind of share this experience. And while I can't include everything, these are just some things that I hope can kind of give you a picture on the things I've learned, and perhaps maybe you can learn something as well. So first off, my coursework required for the certificate, my junior year, I took African American Experience Advanced, and this year I took Modern Latin America and Business in the Good Society. So for my first project required for this work, at the end of Environmental Science Advanced 1, I was able to pick any sort of research project that we were interested in. And so I knew that I wanted to do something about diversity and environmental justice, environmental racism. So I was looking around for areas in which I would root my study, and I realized that Chester, right next door, my dad actually owned a business in Chester, has some of the highest cases of environmental racism. They're about 67% Black. They have the largest trash incinerator in the country there, which gives the citizens so many different sicknesses and illnesses, and it's really detrimental. And it was placed there by a waste management facility that's rooted in Pittsburgh, which is a much more affluent and much more white area and county. And so I wanted to know, what are the things that people from more affluent counties, what's going through their head to make them think that a place in Chester is so much less than that it can be literally a trash can. So I looked at the faculty at Westtown School, a group of my students, and we did a Q methodology study to determine if we could find a correlation between any of these factors. And we found that people that watch more news and more local news in the Westtown community, at least, are more likely to have a negative perception of Chester. For my second project in World Religions 2, we were doing a tradition of Buddhism exhibit. And so I decided to look up Black Buddhism, which was really special to me because my family is actually Buddhist. And we are one type of Nichiren Buddhism. And through this practice, I was able to look at a range of different types of Buddhism that I didn't even know Black people practice because I'm the only Black Buddhist I've ever met. And so this was really exciting. I even learned that, while my family's Nichiren Buddhist, and we're part of the Soka Gakkai International section of that division, which is even another branch of Mahayana Buddhism. There's a whole other side, a more traditional side, which I knew nothing about, that is also Nichiren Buddhism, and that's who this woman is in this picture. She practiced that side of Nichiren Buddhism. And so this was really exciting to not only learn some things myself, but give my classmates a real life example of diversity and Black people and the range of things that Black people can be. Okay, and additionally, I wrote a critical reflection on the autobiography of Malcolm X by Malcolm X as told by Alex Haley. And so this right here is a picture of Malcolm X telling his story to Alex Haley. And if you haven't read it before, which it's super, super popular, obviously, but a lot of it is about Malcolm X coming into his beliefs on race and religion and finding that through Islam. And we know him kind of as this like opposite of MLK, this radical version, like by all means necessary, any means necessary type of person. But what I learned from this book is even more than that. He has this really beautiful story of transformation. And of a human revolution that he has a couple times where he can just completely take the information he's learning and allow that to shape how he wants to act. And the second time he does that is just truly beautiful, and I think it just really attests to the power of human empathy and of opening your mind to something else and of always growing, and the effect that that can have on the world. And so I really enjoyed this. And then additionally, I wrote a critical reflection on this book called We Are Not Yet Equal, by Carol Anderson, who's on the left, and Tonya Bolden, who is on the right. And I loved this book. I'll talk about it a little more when I get into my capstone, but this is essentially a American history textbook starting from slavery, and like the Emancipation Proclamation all the way to the current day, that talks about race and the way that racism has been ever prevalent in our American history, even in places that you might have thought it wasn't. And the very intentional ways in which systemic racism was built to continue to exist today. And that was something in the manner in which they said it was completely eye-opening to me, because I felt like I'd never had really any physical proof for anything that I felt for a long time. And I read this summer, even after going to school, and when I read this in the way that I did, I think that just the collection of information that they present, it was really, really moving to me, and it was truly inspirational. It gave me hope that we can really move forward by having this solid recollection of our past. So off-campus immersion, I went to a camp last summer, the summer before this past summer, called At the Well Young Women's Leadership Academy. And so this was a 2-week leadership camp for high school girls, and we had classes like critical reading, critical writing, and leadership. And actually in my critical writing class, I wrote an essay called The Skin I'm In, which won the Zora Neale Hurston Award, which was really exciting. And then we would also have speakers come in, and they would be, really great Black speakers. So right here in this picture on the bottom is Erica Alexander, who was an actress, is an actress now, more so an activist. But there were so many actresses, and like the first plus size model on Project Runway, and presidents of colleges, and that was really great. So here's a picture on campus with Cornell West, who actually was not a speaker. I was just walking around, and one of the counselors was like, "You need to take a picture with that man." Didn't know who he was at all, and of course now I do. If you don't know Cornell West, he's a really amazing American philosopher, and he writes a lot about race and gender. And he's also like a political commentator oftentimes on like CNN and even Fox. I saw him on the other day. But even more so, what I loved about this camp was the friends that I'd made. These are most of my roommates that you can see in the pictures with me. We were from Nebraska. Didn't know Black people lived in Nebraska. And she was a natural redhead. Atlanta, Chicago, New Jersey, and then I was from Westchester. And we were all so different, all talked very differently, had different phrases. And we were all Black, and it was really amazing, and they were my best friends at the camp. I have so much love for them, and that was really an incredible experience to have. It was the first time that I was really in a Black space like that, and was able to feel that empowerment, and it was really amazing. So for my on-campus opportunity, I really think that a lot of the work that I've done on campus is rooted in the person I am, and how I want that to influence how I interact with other people. So here in like bold are like different pieces of kind of writings that I've written about how I felt and how it all came together. So the first part is kind of about my struggle in middle school, really coming to terms with racism, with Black Lives Matter. And I felt really hurt in a lot of the time during that camp, during that period in my life. But I realized that I really, really wanted to be able to have conversation and come to terms with some of my peers. And so that summer I went to Italy, and I met this Italian boy at an international peace camp in Rome. He loved Trump. He was so rich, and I thought that was so obnoxious. But I was at camp. I wanted to make friends, and we did become friends. And even though I really didn't agree with a lot of the things he said, I understood why he was saying a lot of the things he did. And we would go back to group conversations, and he wouldn't share with them what he shared with me. And I was like, Lupo, come on, like, why aren't you talking? And I realized he was afraid of judgment, and I knew that that didn't help anything if there was no conversation. So coming back, I had a lot of these conversations with Sevi Horton, another student in my grade, and I knew that I wanted to have that at Westtown. And so we both, I think, have really tried to be that, engage in those conversations and activate our peers in those ways. And we also tried to create a club called Middle Ground that would do that. It wasn't great. We both think it would work better in a college setting. We had like 2 meetings, but we also did. We ran a session at the college fair, and that went really well. And so that was really exciting to see the success of that program, that idea of people coming together and having conversations about topics on which they really disagree, and just seeing the humanity in each other. So finally, for my capstone project, rooted back a little bit in Westtown, taking all these experiences together, I wanted to see how can we make sure Westtown's core values are instilled and alive in their history curriculum. Westtown is a school that produces leaders, produces global leaders, produces people that are really rooted in the world and care about the world. And I think that currently our history curriculum, it's easy to take micro and macro or do something where you can kind of lose this understanding of equity and justice and racism at times in America's history. So I think that I'm creating a list of books that I want people to engage in, and perhaps the school to engage in, that I will give to the school. And in addition, I'm using student voices who have taken sort of courses like African American experience, Latin American experience, and who felt like their understanding of American history is really enriched, and looking at how can we include that in the only core classes that people really have to take at Westtown, so in peace and justice and U.S. history. And so I'm going to compile all that and give it to the school, just in case any of you are interested in things like that. I would really recommend reading We Are Not Yet Equal and Racist America by Joe Fagan, which will be on the book, but also to all the viewers. I think that's a great place to start. So yes, that is the accumulation of my work so far. Obviously, this is still a little bit of a work in progress, but I hope you've enjoyed it.